Hello. I've got some slightly better news this week, and I think it's becoming quite clear what's really wrong with the UK economy at the moment, and how we need to fix it all. Because there is clearly one big problem which is really holding us all back. Now we've had the party conferences, and the three main parties, that's Labour, Conservative and Farage UK, they're all very, very similar. A lot of their policies are very similar. And I think this is because it is Farage who sets national policy these days, because his party is doing rather well, and Labour are terrified, and so they copy whatever he does. And likewise the Tories, well, they just copy anything because they've got no idea what they're doing. Now, Farage is actually becoming quite a formidable organisation, quite a formidable party, Reform UK, and it's attracting some pretty powerful, pretty big and important figures. I mean, recently there's Freddy Krueger, that guy whose mother is a cook on the television. He's joined them. And they've got Andrea Jenkins, a rather sad woman who's absolutely desperate to be noticed. And they've got Zia Yusuf, the guy who is a sort of token coloured person who's given them lots of money. I think that's really why he's there. And this is in addition to their wonderful range of MPs. There's 30p Lee, and there's Tyson, there's that awful woman who won by 6 votes. And only in the last week or two, I believe, it's been announced that another very, very famous figure has decided to support them. And that's Lady Victoria Hervey. She apparently is an Instagrammer. So the party is going from strength to strength. And it's not the least bit surprising that the other parties should want to follow their lead. Now, when it comes to the economy, I think all three parties, they all have much the same policies. What they're going to do, they're all going to expand the economy, and I think they're going to cut taxes. They're going to spend a lot more money on public services. So that's all pretty good, and nobody can really argue with that. But the big and most important policy, which dominates absolutely everything, is immigration, and this really is the key to how we put everything right. If we concentrate on immigration, and I just want to compare some of the policies of the three parties regarding immigration. Now, as far as Reform UK are concerned, they're going to stop this business of indefinite leave to remain. And even if you've got indefinite leave to remain, in other words, if you've come here to this country, they've given you indefinite leave to remain, you've got married, you bought a house, all the rest of it, you can still be thrown out. And a lot of those people are allowed to be thrown out. There'll be no further indefinite leave to remain. Instead, you'll get a 5-year visa, and each year, every 5 years, you have to go back and renew it. So it would appear from that you're either going to be a Brit or a foreigner, and you'll never become a Brit if you're a foreigner. Now, they're also going to increase the minimum amount of salary you must have guaranteed before you come to the UK to £60,000 a year, which precludes anybody doing any sort of typical jobs. It's going to be it's only going to be high flyers that they're going to admit to the country. They say that during their first 5-year term, they're going to deport 600,000 immigrants. So that's going to be quite impressive. And in order to manage this, they're going to build large detention infrastructure, and then we're going to leave the ECHR. So we're going to join Russia and Belarus as being the only countries in Europe which don't have any human rights. Now, the Labour Party, of course, have had a look at this, and they see how popular this is. I mean, you have to bear in mind that Farage is the person who convinced us all that if we left the EU, we'd be so much better off because all these Europeans wouldn't come and work here anymore. And you can see, I mean, that has absolutely transformed the British economy over the last few years. And so naturally, everybody's focused on what he has to say concerning other immigration. Now, as far as the Labour Party is concerned, they want to increase the length of time you have to stay here in order to get indefinite leave to remain. It's going to be now 10 years. You have to come in here for 10 years and behave yourself and pay your taxes and so on before you'll be considered for being allowed to stay officially. And the big thing that they also want to get rid of. They want to reduce immigration to between 50 and 70,000 per year. That's from the current 400,000, I guess, at the moment. And the most interesting thing about Labour is that they keep on about care workers. They really don't want care workers coming here. We have a shortage of care workers, but nonetheless, we want to use British care workers. We don't want any foreign care workers. So they are going to particularly try to stop people coming here, such as care workers. And that's about it. In other words, more or less following along after Farage. Now the Tories, they're much tougher. They're going to spend £1.6 billion on a removals force. It's like ICE in America. I mean, they're doing pretty well, very popular and extremely successful. These are gangs of unemployed thugs who are given a load of fatigues and given machine guns and allowed to cover up their face, and they go around in sunglasses and hats, and they never identify themselves, and they don't have any warrants and so on. They just go around smashing people's car windows and yanking them out of their cars and break into people's houses in the middle of the night and take them away. That's what the Tories get up. So a force like that in order to get rid of all these people, and they reckon they're going to get rid of 150,000 people a year. So that's quite a lot. I think they'll find quite a lot if they look in the National Health Service. I mean, lots of foreigners there, awful lot. And I think all over really, there are all sorts of industries that depend on foreigners. So they shouldn't have any trouble finding 150,000 people. And also there'll be automatic deportation for anybody who arrives, what they call illegally. In other words, they come across the channel. Now, there's no way of coming here legally as an asylum seeker. You can't get to this country, and there are no proper routes. So the only way of coming here is coming on a boat across the channel. And so, according to their new policy, if you arrive here, say you've come from Eritrea, and maybe you've been sentenced to death and you've escaped, and you've got to Dover on a little boat, and then they put you on the next plane back to Eritrea where they'll shoot you. Or maybe you've been sentenced to 20 years in prison. You're sent back for 20 years in prison for some political offence. So it's all quite interesting. But as I say, the really main focus is to get rid of foreigners. That's what's, as far as it's clear. I mean, this is what's dragged our country down. Foreigners coming here working. And all these people are care workers and people who work in hospitality, people who work in construction, people who work in agriculture, doing all the jobs, very often jobs that we British people don't really want to do. They're the people we're going to deter from coming here, and those are the ones we're going to try and get rid of. And by the way, this is a shock. I went to see my doctor the other day, a couple of weeks ago, and got to reception and go in. There's a couple there, a man and a woman, and they're speaking some sort of East European language. I mean, what on earth are they doing here? I think they're probably Polish. Most of the Polish people have gone home. And then I go to the reception desk, and there's a very nice young lady there. I've seen her before. She's from Nepal. She speaks with an accent, and I presume she's not born in the UK. What's she doing? What's she doing here? And there's a lady there behind the desk also, an African lady, and she also has an accent, so I presume she also wasn't born here, and she puts all the records in and patient records and so on. She shouldn't be here. British person should be doing that. And then I went to the doctor, and you know what I'm going to say. Indian doctor. We don't need Indian doctors. We can train our own. We don't want foreigners here. Now, there are people who come up with this absurd argument. They say, look, if you want to grow your economy, you need workers. People like Farage and the Tories and Labour will say, well, we want our own people, we'll train up our own people. So if you get rid of a doctor or a brain surgeon somewhere, well, you just train up somebody else to replace him. If he's a foreigner, that is. You get a Brit, you train a Brit. And all these people are sat at home and they're pretending they're ill. In fact, they're watching Netflix and playing computer games. All those people will replace all these foreigners we're going to get rid of. It's Britain for the Brits and British jobs for British people. That's the policy, which is almost certainly going to be a fantastic success. I mean, there are other people who say, well, if someone is living in a country where they're either in danger or whatever, and they decide to leave home and to cross dozen other countries and to risk life and limb, and then to get the boat and come across the channel and arrive in the UK, they've got to be pretty determined, pretty courageous, pretty ambitious. And people say, well, these are the sort of people we want. People who are going to come and they're going to work, and they work 2 or 3 jobs, and they'll live in a single room with 3 other people until they can save up enough money to start a business, and they'll start a business and employ people and all the rest of it. That's, of course, a complete and utterly nonsense argument. Just the same way as people say in America, if you look at the top 500 most successful companies, I'm talking about, Nvidia and Microsoft and Apple and all the rest of it. If you look at the top 500 companies in America, more than 50%, approximately 50% of them, the CEOs are either immigrants or children of immigrants. In other words, people who've come with motivation and determination and really want to get on and are ambitious. But we don't want those sort of people here. We can do it ourselves. We train up our own people to run and build massive companies. We don't need foreigners. And as far as the care workers are concerned, there's an obsession that Labour has about the care sector. People say, well, we need them again. There are people we can train up. If a guy loses a job, he's a lorry driver or something, he can become a care worker. He can learn how to wipe old ladies' bottoms and things like that. There are plenty of people around to do this job. We don't need foreigners to do them for us. And as I say, there's a big shortage of care workers, and we're an ageing population. We're getting older all the time. Some people say, well, we're getting older, so there are more and more old people living longer and longer, so we're going to need more and more care workers, and more care homes and so on. And this could be a problem. But no, you see, we've got plenty of British people we can train up to run care homes. I know somebody who, a guy, he comes from the East End. He's about 45 now, and he worked in the city. He was a trader and made a lot of money. And somehow they found some slightly dodgy way of actually making a lot more money. And so he went off to live in a tax haven, and he made lots of money. This guy's worth 100 million or more. He's got a whole load of houses. He's got one house he rents out at £1 million a year. This guy's really stinking rich. And he's got a lot of money to invest, doesn't know what to do with it. And he's decided, he and a group of his rich friends, they're going to start buying UK care homes. Now, they'll all be bought and belong to companies in tax havens, British tax havens, and he'll have no worry about having to pay any tax. And this is continue a theme that's going on all the time. We know about Blackstone are going to come and spend they're going to invest 100 billion, and otherwise going to buy thousands and thousands and thousands of houses, which will all rent back off them. And with this guy I know in the care homes, I don't think his priority is going to be to provide the very, very best of care and kindness to the residents. I think it'll be bottom line. It'll be cutting down staff, cutting down heating, cutting down on the cost of the food and so on. A lot of these people are going to die as a result of this, but they're old anyway, so it doesn't really matter, does it? It's not the end of the world. It is for them, but it's old people, isn't it? So it doesn't matter. It's all about money. And whilst we want, quite right, to keep Britain for the Brits, and we don't want any foreigners here, we don't mind rich foreigners because we have a huge industry in the city looking after rich people who've got lots of money, and we're able to help them come and avoid tax and to buy property here and not pay any tax on that and to put their money in the tax havens. We have a fantastic, really, really massive, it doesn't benefit the economy of our economy at all, it just puts property prices up, but nonetheless it's a fantastic, really, really sophisticated industry in money laundering and helping people avoid tax. And at the same time, the government seems to be obsessed with going after benefits cheats, people who are selling stuff in boot sales or selling stuff on eBay. And they're going to employ all sorts of people. They've got AI in all of everybody's bank accounts. It just seems, it seems very odd. But the other thing I was just going to mention about, and this is the latest woos to try and stop the small boats which are invading us. And I tell you, a lot of these people, I read this in the paper, so I know it's true. A lot of these people come across the boats, they're murderers and rapists. A lot of them. And of course, also I've read in the paper, one of the reasons they come here, because when they get here, they get given iPads, brand new iPads, and then they're taken off, as you'd have read before, they're taken off to 5-star hotels, places like, I presume, the Dorchester and Savoy and places like that. And then they're put at the top of the list for council houses. So if a council house becomes available, these people get them right away, which is one of the reasons why they're all coming here. But now, one of the ways they're going to try and stop the little boats, in fact, I think it will stop them almost instantly, is by introducing ID cards. And the idea is that everybody will have a digital ID. Now, this is not like a driving license with a little bit of information and a magnetic strip on the back. These are ID cards that's got your whole life there. Your bank records, your tax records, your employment records, your school records, everything, your health records, everything is going to be on these ID cards. And it will enable the government to really know everything about you. I mean, they're already snooping on people's bank accounts without them knowing, and this will enable them to snoop about everything. If you do anything wrong, I mean, that's going to affect whole areas of your life. It's a system they use in China. If you get a parking fine, you don't pay it. You find next time you're trying to get a mortgage, it's up on your record, and it will count against you, and everything is judged by these records that the government is able to look at. But ID cards, the idea is that they get in, they won't be able to work because we don't allow asylum seekers to work. We put them in these 5-star hotels where they sit doing nothing, or they're supposed to sit doing nothing all day, week after week. As I mentioned several times in previous videos, I know somebody who's been 12 years waiting for a decision from the Home Office, and every time he goes to see him on his sort of monthly meetings, they say, "You're not working, are you? You mustn't work." How they think he's surviving, I have absolutely no idea. He's worked for the last 12 years, 7 days a week. But anyway, the idea is that we have ID cards, so these people won't be able to work. So people who are currently here, awaiting a decision from the Home Office, and who've got no means of support and are expected to sit in a room with perhaps 3 or 4 other people all day, every day, they go out and they get jobs. And they get jobs for cash, and they're paid cash. Now, how having an ID card is going to affect that, I really don't know. I think the other way, of course, is ID cards are supposed to make it difficult for you to do business for cash. I don't really see how that works either. But nonetheless, it's going to be a very, very, very expensive thing, producing these ID cards. The only good thing, although it's not good for us, but it's good for one person, that's the son of Tony Blair, Ewan Blair. He's got an IT company, and he personally, I mean, he's 40 years old. He's worth £350 million. I don't suppose for a moment he's been that successful using any contacts of his father's, but his father is big friends with Larry Ellison, the first or second richest man in the world, and they go on holiday together and all the rest of it. Anyway, it said between them, Larry Ellison and Blair's son will get this contract, expected to get this contract for the ID card. So, nice day for him, and I think we should all be very, very happy for him. And in the meantime, we see people being arrested, all these old people, invalids and all the rest of it, for holding up signs. One guy was arrested for holding up a copy of the Private Eye, and you just wonder, you just wonder how we end up with such lousy politicians. And how is it that any nation could be so stupid to follow like a Pied Piper an idiot like Farage? Farage, who has made £1.2 million since he became an MP, on the side. And he having told us all if everything would be fine if we left the EU, and it's been an absolute catastrophe. And now he's telling everybody if we can just get rid of all the foreigners, everything will be fine. We just end up with an economy which you cannot grow without foreigners because we don't have enough homegrown workers. Anyway, that's what I think about it. If you've watched this far, thank you very much indeed, as always. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. And so until next time, thanks for watching, and bye for now.